And I really like having this platform to talk about our relationship because I think, like you said, a lot of times our pictures get reposted, and I think a lot of times people are just like, well, how the hell they together? And so I think it's nice to be able to actually speak on our relationship because people know me, and then they think like from our little story clips, you can't see much of anything, but a lot of times with her facial expressions, she got a little stank face on, and I'm sure people are like, oh, she look annoyed. Like, we get sometimes crazy stuff in our inbox. But
what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Queerly Blax Show. I'm your host, Ashley, and I'm so happy you came by. The Queerly Blax Show aims to normalize the everyday existence of Black LGBTQIA plus individuals through an interview-style series with regular folks like you and me. So every week, a new guest shares their story and unique perspective on their existence as an LGBTQIA plus individual. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure you subscribe, download, set your reminders to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Queerly Blax Show. I'm your host, Ashley. I'm joined today by some very special guests. They are fresh off their honeymoon, so this is going to be interesting. Veronica Bree, y'all go ahead and tell the people about yourselves real quick.
All right, so I'm Veronica Page, soon to be young, changing my name. In the streets, I go by Veronica Wildchild. So I've been, I guess, a fixture in the community for the last decade, which has been an honor, privilege. I do a lot of club hosting. I do a lot of social events. I do now speaking on LGBT issues. I've done some work with the Dolphins. I've done some alcohol brand collaborations. I'm really excited to see what Pride Month has to do. Yeah, just got married, and I guess I'll let my wife talk about herself.
All right. So as you can hear by my accent, I'm Jamaican American. In terms of like LGBTQ, I've been in, with the Pride movement for like a really long time. Like I came out when I was like teenager, I think college, 15, 16. Yeah, but as being Jamaican, we're not like super like open, like, telling everybody like if you know, if you don't know, you don't know.
That's dope. Yeah, man. Well, I know Veronica, I know you live in Miami. And so, I'm bringing back my shoes. I took them away for like pretty much the last couple of months, but I'm bringing them back, and I got a special pair, you know what I'm saying? I just, that's the South Beach, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, they are. Those are the colors, honey.
Just for you, you know what I'm saying? So I just had to, highlight that real quick. But look, so let's get into it. I asked everybody this. We're going to get into the proposal, the beautiful Tulum proposal, how y'all met. But first, the first time you encountered your sexuality.
Should I go first? You go first.
You can go first.
So my situation was a little bit different because I actually ended up marrying a man. And so, but I always, had relationships with women, I would say since, I don't know, one of the first memories that I ever had, I was living in France, and I was like camping across America or across France. My parents sent me over there as a teenager to learn French. And I remember this girl, her name was Yasmina, which is like Jasmine. And she was like fixing my shirt.
Fancy way to say Jasmine. Yes.
Yes. She was fixing my shirt and like the button on my shirt, and she took my breath away. And I remember, I guess it was the first time like I had like a crush on a woman, but I didn't realize it. Like my dumb ass, I just thought like I was just fluid, I was one of those. So like when I was in college, I had my first like, I guess, monogamous relationship with a woman. All through my senior year, I basically kept it hidden, but my roommate kind of complained to like the dean of our school that I had like some random girl who didn't go to college with us staying with me, and she didn't realize I was in a relationship. And so it was kind of like a whole thing, but again, still, I just thought I was fluid. I didn't have to choose. I was living my best life. So fast forward a little bit, I get married, and then we were kind of like I don't want to say like fully open, but like open. So when we moved to New York, he was a model at the time. I went on a date with a girl and I really fell in love. Like, I mean, like head over heels within like the month. So it turned into like this whole affair. And like, you know, we hadn't even like went on our honeymoon because we kind of just like kept our marriage a secret for so long. Once my family found out, my mom gave us a honeymoon at her house in St. Bart's at the time. So like I was like Skyping my girlfriend, showing her my titties, didn't think anybody saw. So like it came to a head where basically
On
he
your
was like,
honeymoon with your husband.
yes. So he was like at the time he was like, it's him, it's her and me. And so basically like I had to choose, and it was hard coming out and like in general it was hard coming out later. I mean, I was in my like, you know, late 20s. That was like a different time for me, and I have a traditional family, traditional beliefs. I do believe marriage is forever, but it just wasn't the right person, it wasn't the right gender. So it was hard. Like I knew I was gay, but I couldn't say it. But he basically was like, well, I'll do the decision for you, let's split. So it was a little bit of a hard time where I had to rebuild. I lost all of my friends that we had here in Miami and high society, and basically starting over, and them knowing that, like, you know, because they all heard his side of the story. So I left Miami, and then I came back loud, queer, proud, and you know, I had a few relationships with women under my belt by then. So when I came back to Miami in 2015, it was kind of like a reemergence for me. So like I tell people, like, don't be afraid to lose it all, to risk it all, because I did. And I sometimes forget that I was even married to a man. Like I forget that chapter of my life, but I wouldn't be who I was if I didn't go through that. But like it took me a while to realize, okay, I want to get married again and I want it to last forever. But like, yeah, don't be afraid to lose everything that you thought you were to be who you really are. That's just really my experience with it.
Yeah, with that, real quick, did you feel like, so you were you in love with him?
I loved him.
You
I mean,
loved
I
him.
can't say that I didn't, because
Yeah.
there were times like I wouldn't have done it. But we were also really young, and like, you know, if I was straight, he would have been a catch. He was a
Yeah.
supermodel.
It was like, if I'm a date a dude, this
It
is the
would be
guy.
him. But
Yeah.
it started breaking down. And also the other reason was because I realized, like, I know that my wife, she could do both, which is a really amazing thing. But I realized that, like, at
What
the
do you mean
time,
both?
like
Oh, I'm like, okay.
like feminine
I'm like,
and
what?
sporty androgynous, but like the person
Both.
the person that
Clarification.
the person that I fell in love with was more on the androgynous, like stud side, and I think that that had made a difference to me. I never had encountered that up until that point, and I think that the still to this day, like feminists, 100% straight feminine women, they don't really catch my eye. I mean, I think they're pretty and everything, but they're not my type. So I think it also depended, because I didn't know much about like how like subcategories in the community, what really was my thing and what attracted me. So like, yeah, it was a learning curve. And unfortunately I had that while I was married. And I don't know if that was exactly fair, but that's the story that happened.
For sure, for sure. I was shocked too, and I saw Bree. I saw y'all first. Y'all were like one of those couples that y'all picture just gets reposted on everything, like gay, lesbian. Like I kept seeing y'all's page, but everybody doesn't post your Instagram handle. So it was like I can't remember which page I finally saw where y'all's handles were, and I was shocked at Bree.
Got hacked.
Oh,
Yeah, my account, my old account got hacked.
So I was shocked at Bree because of, like you said, like you're like very unique in the sense that you go high femme or high like stud. Like it's pretty cool. So yeah, definitely, you know, I think that's pretty dope. But yeah, Bree, so what's your story? When you start liking the girls?
Oh my gosh. So let's see. All right. So I don't know, like ever since I've known myself, like I've always been like attracted to females. And it started like, you know, a little church girl or Catholic girl, but
somebody ain't had no business messing with.
But it's always like my teachers, like in school, it's always my teachers. Like going to camp, it's always like, you know, the female, the pretty little like counselor, and I'm like, all right, but I didn't really know what was going on, to be honest. Like I know I liked them and I was attracted, but I don't think it was like sexual at that age, because I didn't really like, I was kind of like asexual, like whatever. So when I went to a Catholic school, and I used to like, I remember like dreaming about like inviting this one my geography teacher home, and like swimming in the pool and dinner. And I'm like, Bridget, what the hell's going on? I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I was kind of like, you know, one of the favorite students too in her class. But anyways, when I started college, that's when I really started like experimenting, because I really had like no sexual chemistry, like feelings towards a guy. I can say, yo, bro, you're cute. Like, you know, you have a nice body and stuff, but that was it. You know, like, you're my bro.
I've been gay since I came out the womb like this.
Exactly.
God ain't put no straight, nothing in me, no attraction to a man in me. Yeah. He'd be like, oh, you know, you're a handsome guy. You look nice, brother.
Exactly. But then, like, you know, I would always be like hanging out with my friends, some of them like straight too. And I don't know, for some reason, like they always want to kiss me. And so like literally like after class, we like stayed back. And you know, like we'd be like making
Bree was cut up.
We weren't together, but like
trying to figure out if you the wild child or Veronica, who's the wild child here?
She was wild when she grew up. That's why she was out of it.
Yeah, so it was like, you know, like that's where I guess I started like experimenting with stuff, but I already kind of like knew what I liked, but I was very careful. So yeah, and then I met this one girl, you know, because I mean, I feel like in American standards, I grew up, I guess, like faster, just because in Jamaica, like you go to college like 15, 16, so you're more mature in doing certain things, like we're working, like we own our own in terms of like, you know, independence and stuff at an earlier age. So I remember like working at this one company, and everybody was like, a lot of people were like gay, and we used to hang out a lot. And, you know, I felt like at that point I was pretty much out, and I was, you know, dating, but I never like told my family. I remember telling this one girl who, she was my really good friend at the time.
Were you you were in America at this point?
No, I was
in Jamaica.
Yeah. So I remember telling really this one girl that we were friends, right? And I didn't want to say I'm a lesbian because I didn't really like, I knew who I was, but, you know, kind of like toning it down. And I'm like, girl, I'm bi. And she's like, Bridget, what are you going to buy? What are you buying? And I'm like, no, like, I'm bi. But I really wasn't bi, you know, but I was trying to like mellow it.
Yeah, soften the blow.
Yeah. And then at that point, I realized that, you know what? People are just gonna like either accept who I am or they can piss off. Like seriously.
But how was that in Jamaica? Like you because I know for everybody that experience is kind of different. Like, did you ever come out or have to like, you know, how once it all came out?
So I came out to my friends first, like, you know, people I used to hang out with, people at work that I was close to.
Yeah.
And I'm a very private person too, so I don't tell everything. I don't really tell details. So they would know. I would be like, yo, I like women, and that's it. You know, if you ask me a question, you ask me. If not, it's cool. But then I would hang out with mainly people who were straight, because, you know, that's the thing there. And a lot of people who are like gay or bi or whatever, at that point in time, they weren't really like publishing it. Like you would never know unless you really know.
This is dangerous.
Unless you're close.
Yeah.
But also, I think based on the community that I was in, like the working environment, I felt really comfortable to just be myself. And, you know, people didn't treat me weird. They really didn't.
What do they call you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The pretty.
No, I mean, they would be like, oh, those are the pretty little lesbians or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, I feel like, you know, based on the environment that you're in, you either feel comfortable or you feel very judged and you got to get out for safety. I didn't feel like I was in danger, you know. I knew how to act and, you know, how to just like, you know, adapt in certain situations.
How to be safe.
Yeah.
And you worked in hospitality, so there's a lot in the hospitality.
That is true. That is true. Especially now, I feel like maybe half of the women in Jamaica are the bisexual or lesbian.
Yeah, it is crazy though, because I know you hear different stories. Most of them are which are like you can't talk about that. Like you can't be open and out, you know, and be safe. So, you know, even on the platform, like we try to caveat, like a lot of the advice is like, depending on your situation, being out, being proud, being like this, you know, reflection of a rainbow is not safe, you know, even if that's how you feel, you know, you can't always be as open because it's just not safe. So yeah,
even in our travels on our honeymoon, it did determine where we were going to go visit and how we were going to conduct ourselves when we were there, because Istanbul is a little, you know, it might be like cool, but Turkey in itself is still an Arabic nation. So
yeah, I bet. So when y'all are out, like, do people like, do they know that you're a couple? Unless you're like, of course.
They think all different type of things. Like some people think we're a couple. Some people think sometimes I look super young. Sometimes they think she's my mom,
grandmother.
Not grandma.
Excited in Costa Rica, honey.
Some people think we're
grandma?
sisters.
Jesus Christ, no.
Even like coming back from our honeymoon, we're in the Philippines, and I'm the one that keeps all the passport and the important documents. You know, I got all my stuff together.
Wild child, we scatterbrain.
My wife carries ours too, because I listen.
Yeah. When we were going to the same counter, and the check-in lady was like, "Oh no, you can go over there," and I'm like, "No, we're together. We're traveling together." And she looks at me and she's like, "Are you family?" I'm like, "She's my wife." And when I did that, like,
just like that.
When I did that, the whole crew were like from other counters. They were like, "Oh, all right." I'm like, "Yeah." You just
get it together, right? Get them together.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
But yeah, that's pretty much like my coming out story to like my friends and how I really like started evolving. But I actually never really came out to my family at that point. I feel like they knew because I never really like had boyfriends, or, you know, I hang out with guys, but like obviously we're not together. But I always have like a close friend. They probably thought like bestie or whatever. I remember the first time I actually like brought somebody like over, and this girl looked like a stud, like, you know, short hair and stuff. But I was young. So I remember one of my sisters like, "Bridget, who's that?" And I'm like, "That's my friend." And then she gave me the whole lecture, and I'm like, she's like, "Are you gay?" I'm like, no, don't look gay, like, no. And then she was like giving me the whole lecture about how they treat gays in Jamaica and opportunities for like career and this and that, like the whole. But then after all of that, like, you know, I moved to the States, and I really just like became my true self, because I was at the time, I think 18, and I had my own apartment. I was working, you know, nobody told me what to do. Yeah, I'm like my own person. So at the end of the day, I remember I did like a little family trip to Atlanta, and I told my mom, and I came out actually on I think it was like a video chat or something, to my sisters. And one of my sisters was like, "Come on, Bridget, we knew." Like, you never had a boyfriend.
Like, you done brought a stud home. You ain't never had a boyfriend. You was in that little gang of girls. Come on.
They were like, we were wondering when you were gonna come out and tell us. But we knew. So I'm like, all right, cool.
So how'd y'all meet?
Tinder.
Veronica.
Tinder.
What was the play of lines? Run it back for me.
I was on Tinder because I knew I was coming to Atlanta. I wanted to be fun. I want to have some dates. So I went on Tinder and I had something set up. So I end up seeing this one profile, and it's literally just like, it's just hair.
The back of my hair.
It was just hair. I didn't see her face. I didn't see what she looked like, nothing. But I liked what she said. She was like kicking a soccer ball, something like that. So I super liked her.
Kicking a soccer ball and just hair.
All his hair. And
He's like, yep, I like it. I like that.
yeah, like me being shallow and me just having gotten out of like a long-term relationship, I was just like done, and I wanted something new. And like I love the fact that I didn't know what she looked like because I liked what she had to say. So then we took it to text, then we took it to phone, and she's like, I might have an accent. And I'm like, where are you from? So then she's telling me she's Jamaican. It's funny because I've had a couple of experiences with Caribbean women from being in Miami, but more on the Haitian side. I never dated a Jamaican, so couldn't even understand what the patois was. So it was really fun. Like in the beginning, like I got to know her. I found out where she works. Started sending flowers. We had a meeting, which was basically like this restaurant that I picked, and I wanted them to have like 2 glasses of champagne when we sat down. And so they just weren't getting back to me. I asked for the wine list. I called, I emailed them. They just were like playing me crack dust. So basically, like I had to tell them, because I worked in the restaurant business too, nobody cares about date night. They only care about anniversaries. So I said, it's our anniversary. Don't say it's our anniversary because it's our first date. So I was like, I want these 2 glasses of food when we sit down. So when she picks me up, first of all, I thought it would be cool to go, wear nudes. So I'm in like a beige top, beige pants, same color of my skin. I'll let her tell her side. So I'm thinking I look cute and everything in my little like pants, whatever. She goes to the wrong house and she brings me flowers. I run them back inside. We're like, small talking in the car. So we arrive at the place, and I go to the hostess stand, and I'm like, did you read my notes? Because you get notes that are printed out. She says, yeah, don't worry about it. So we sit down. We're sitting down like outside in Buckhead. So the waitress comes over. She brings the 2 glasses. I'm like, great. Happy anniversary. I'm like, girl, I told
them not to say nothing.
I'm like embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't want her to think like, so she's like, oh,
that you crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So she's like, I'm in the industry, like, don't worry about it, it's cool. So we're talking, and we're taking a really long time to order because we're just like getting to know you, getting to know it all about you. So we're just reading the menus and we're talking. So then we order some stuff. Stuff is coming at a slow pace. So at this point, the sun is going down. So I'm reaching over the table to show her a picture of like one of my retreats or something. I see something out the corner of my eye. I don't know. It was shiny and it was brown. It's Atlanta. There's water bugs. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I did what I do. I got up. I started screaming. So everybody around me started screaming. And I'm like, I ruined this date. I threw this date in the trash. Oh my God, so I got myself together. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't like bugs. I don't like water bugs. There was a bug. So the waitress is like, what is going on? I was like, there are bugs over there. We need to sit inside right now. And so they move us. The table next to us is like, oh my God, what's going on? And I'm like, there's bugs over there. So they're like scooting over. So we move inside. I'm like, Veronica, why? So dessert comes. And again, I just met her. Now I know her like 2T. So I know she doesn't like attention. So for dessert, I brought sparklers, and like the dessert comes out. Her name is Bridget, Bridgette. So I put BRI on the plate. Sparklers come out. She's like, I'm like, shit. I hope I can curse on this. I was like, I messed up. So I was like, so she's like, well, it's actually BRE. And I was like, oh my God, it's the third thing. So I just thought this is it. I'm never gonna see her again. This is a disaster. She reaches over and she grabs my hand, and I was like, oh, she likes me. So there, you can tell your side of the
sweet. I think it was all sweet. Like she was just in her head about stuff. But yeah, like, started it on Tinder. Like I've been on Tinder. Like I used to be on Tinder in Seattle. Like I need somebody to go play tennis with.
Partner.
I'll go on Tinder and find somebody. But anyways, like, yeah, I wasn't dating anyone for like 2 years. And
find somebody to play tennis with on Tinder.
Activity partner. She want no date.
But anyway, so I wasn't dating anyone, and I really just like was I was good, just like traveling, doing my own thing. And because, like dating right now, like I feel like it can be really rough, It's like a lot of waste of
There's a
time.
lot of pee in the dating pool.
So
I don't know. I've been on a date with the same one for the last 14 years. I don't know nothing about it.
Yeah. So this guy at work, we were having drinks one day because I was gonna pick up my brother from work, so I was killing time, and we were talking, and he was telling me how he met his girlfriend on Tinder. And I'm like, bro, I haven't been on Tinder in a while. And he was like, yo, Bridget, you need to get back on Tinder. Like, there are amazing people out there. Like, you're missing out just for the fun of it. Like, get on Tinder. So that night I went home and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go on Tinder. So I went on Tinder. I literally posted one picture. Like, I was playing soccer, but I had my back turned. So you really could not see my face at all. Just one picture. I don't even think I wrote like a whole lot of stuff in my profile. Cause sometimes people like, it's like a resume. But then when you get to meet people, you're like, God damn, this is such a waste of time. Yeah. So then, Veronica super liked me, and I'm like, okay, we can chat. So we actually like
the hair with the playing ball.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So we were talking, and it was just like really good conversation. We're talking about like, family, like where we grew up, just like, the fact that her family is mainly like Cape Verdean. Like, it was just like really cool. But what really blew my mind, it wasn't even like date night or anything like that. It was just the fact that this woman did not know me, but she like put so much interest in the small things, or maybe they're really big things. You know what I mean? Just like I told her, I'm like, so okay, you're coming to host an event. Like, I'd rather not meet you at an event because I feel like it takes away from getting to know someone. So I'm like, I'm for mainly like the intimate setting, So we can go out for dinner. And she literally like extended her stay, got an Airbnb. And not just that, but because I'm from a culinary background, she's like, I'm gonna cook for you if that's okay. But it wasn't just I'm gonna cook for you. She sent me a menu. She sent me a menu. She knew that I liked reggae music, and so she curated a playlist. And before all of that, just like the little gifts like that she would send me, because at that point I was working at in the Honda for like the cars and so on. And she sent me this little key ring that said, please drive safely on the road because I need you here with me. It's just like the little things. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cute. So when we actually met, then I realized that, you know what, it wasn't just all, the gifts and the little gestures here and there, but she was like genuinely a sweet and caring person.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, those nude pants, I'm like, what the heck is this girl wearing? When I went to pick her,
what you think about that outfit, Bree?
It was literally like skin tone. So I did not, I'm like, what is she wearing?
Did you think she was naked?
I did. I honestly did. I was like, and when I picked her up, she was nervous. I can tell she was nervous because she was kind of like jittery and like, kind of a little bit like, I'm like, calm down. It's okay. I'm cool. Like I literally said this because, she was like talking fast and just like,
that's how I am.
Nervous. She was so nervous. I'm like, we're going to have because I'm like relaxed. I'm very particular with stuff. And to some people that can be like a little, but I just know what I like when it comes to like everything. Everything. Yeah. So I'm like, it's okay. So even like the roaches and stuff like that, for me, as long as they're not in my food, I don't really care. Like, it's Atlanta. They're water bugs. So then since she catered to me with like, the cooking and the invitation over, I'm like, all right, I'm going to take you to my spots like the following day. So yeah, I took her on a little kind of mini hike, to the river.
How long was your
river? City girl. I had city boots.
Girl, me too.
City calluses.
Yeah. And then I took her to one of my little favorite restaurants, and she just enjoyed it. And from there on, you know, we just been going back and forth, Atlanta, Miami.
Even now, so like, you know, obviously being married doesn't change much as far as like our living arrangements because of her job. And hopefully, you know, within the year, she'll be able to move here because she's got family there. I have family here in Miami that just built a house, and hopefully your job just opened a branch and she'll be able to transfer. But this works for us. It doesn't work for everybody, but it doesn't matter what works for other people.
Right, exactly.
It's all about practicality. Everything needs to make sense.
Well, I think marriage is about just whatever you want it to be. But I think a lot of people's marriages are not successful because they don't take that approach. They don't make it what they want it to be. It's like what society makes you feel like it should be. It's like it should be whatever you want it to be. It's your marriage.
I always hate when people talk about like couples goals or like, you guys are couple. I'm like, no, we're not. We are ourselves. Like,
you're very, very pretty couple. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. I've seen y'all pictures so many times. I was like, who are these women? Like, I have to talk to them. Who are these women?
It's just us, you know, like as far as what we're concerned. But yeah, like the 24th, since that was our first date, every month I made sure to like get her a little trinket, whether it's like a big gift or a small gift, but something that shows our love. And that's why, and then I think like the second gift was I wrote her a book. And then like the engagement was the 24th, our wedding was the 24th. So yeah, it's a special thing that we do. It's our tradition every month.
Yeah, so. And the thing is too, I feel like why we really work is the first date night at that restaurant, we talked about deep stuff. It wasn't just like, oh my God, you're beautiful, and you know, it wasn't like that. It was more like, okay, what do you want like out of a relationship? What do you see yourself?
What are your deal breakers?
And you know, what are your hopes for the future? Do you want to have a family? Do you want to get married? Do you know, it's like the tough questions that a lot of time people are scared to ask, and then you end up being in a relationship because you're infatuated by somebody for like 3-4 years,
but you're not compatible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and also like we have a lot of differences, and you know, some differences good,
lifestyle,
some differences bad. So at the end of the day, it's you know, adapting to be a better person too, like because everybody have things that they need to work on, whether it's communication or whether it's a bad habit. So I feel like there's been a lot of growth, both professionally and you know, emotionally, personally. So I feel like that works. If there's no growth in something, then it seems like, okay, this isn't going anywhere, and
it never stops.
Exactly.
It never stops. 14 years in and we're still like growing and learning, and we're actually having a baby. So now everything is just like, there's like this whole other, you're like 14 years and there's this whole other part of me and you that we don't know, right? Like we don't know each other with a child, right? This is a whole new relationship, right? Like it's crazy. So I mean, it never stops. It literally never stops. But I think when people say, you know, this is the work of, you know, marriage is work, it sounds like this like monumentous thing, but really all it is just that it's constant. Like every single day you choose to be married. You choose this union, you choose for it to be happy, you choose for it to be like thriving and growing. And if you want that, then you work on it. It's going to be hard because you're going to continuously talk. You're going to be like, hey, babe, you know, you left that shoe in the middle of the damn floor again. And you know, like we really got to, no, but like these are like, you can't, you got to choose your battles, right? But like at the same time, you can't be afraid to say what's on your mind ultimately, because you'll just be over there like suppressed and like miserable because you haven't talked about anything, right? So it's just like, you got to choose. You're like, if I'm mad about if there's 5 things that I need to talk to you about, what is the one thing that I really cannot go to sleep without letting you know?
And the other things,
leave the other 4 for tomorrow. You know, like just like, you know, that shit don't really matter. Like, let me just clean these. Let me just do it myself. You know, you figure out what that is, you know, and you just move on.
I said this morning when we got in at 6 a.m, I was like, I can't wait till we've been together for 14 years. She's like, why 14? I was like, because they've been together for 14 years. I can't wait for those double digits.
Double digits.
So that's really amazing. Congratulations. And like she
you.
said, like we have a lot of differences. And I really like having this platform to talk about our relationship because I think, like you said, a lot of times our pictures get reposted. And I think a lot of times people are just like, well, how the hell they together? And so I think it's nice to be able to actually speak on our relationship because people know me and then they think like from our little story clips, you can't see much of anything, but a lot of times with her facial expressions, she got a little stank face on, and I'm sure people are like, oh, she look annoyed. Like, you know, we get sometimes crazy stuff in our inbox, but at the end of the day, like we really love each other. We work on our relationship, and yes, I have a different lifestyle. You know, I love my little auntie grandma wife. She goes to bed around 10 o'clock. You know, I stay up sometimes, and it is a culture difference. It's a lifestyle. It's a personality difference. But if we can make it work, and we make it work with happiness and joy, and it's not always like that. You know, we have sometimes discussions, but there's always respect. There is always that mutual desire, and whatever, you know, if we have a disagreement, what we always say to each other is, "I love you," and you know, we try not to like, you know, go off and shut down and go, you know, to sleep angry or just, you know, have those silent treatments. The silent treatments, they're the relationship killers. So we talk and I talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. So
that's good. You're expressive. You're expressive.
Her face
like,
is expressive. Oh
yeah, exactly.
I love it. So you guys just came off your honeymoon. How's the honeymoon?
The honeymoon, yeah, it was great. It was last year.
The honeymoon was last year.
Oh yeah.
She's tired, guys. They literally just got back. They literally just came back.
Last year.
I'm like, it's today, baby, today.
Oh my gosh, yes, you're right. It was so incredible. It was exhausting just because we moved around so much, but it was perfect too because we got to see so much of the Philippines, so much of Turkey, and Veronica has a new name. Uh-oh. The bag lady.
Don't do me.
We traveled with how many bags? 5
I did
bags?
see that one story where you were like, I got all the important stuff right here. That's
2.
all you.
2 bags. But no, I mean, it was just so incredible because we really wanted to go to somewhere that like we've never been before.
We tried to rent a motorbike, and
that was funny too. Yeah, because they have scooters there, right? And scooters for like, it was mad cheap. It was like $10 for the entire day. So we're like, damn, let's do this. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? We should really like do a trial first because I've never ridden a scooter and neither has she. So the host of the place that we were staying, he had a bike and he's like, okay, maybe you can try it. Veronica got in it like a pro. Like she took off. I'm like, are you sure you don't have like experience? She took off and she could not stop. She stopped in a pile of rocks.
I was trying to do the brake, but I was still pushing I had gotten off because like I was trying to turn it around. It was like a slow crash, but like I was still holding the throttle, and he's like, let go, and I'm like, well, let go what? Like, why is it still going? So
good thing, like, so I'm like, okay, so that's a no because one, I'm not replacing someone's bike.
Right.
On this trip, and yeah, so I'm like, okay, we're definitely not renting a bike because the terrain and stuff, the downhill cliff, and I foresee like major accidents. So I'm like, no,
I couldn't even ride a bike. I got stuck in a puddle up to my freaking ankle.
A bicycle. Not a bicycle.
A pedal bike.
Yeah. So we ended up just renting a tuk-tuk is what they call it. It's like a motorbike.
It's a rickshaw.
Motorbike with like a little
cover.
I like a little, I don't know,
a carriage
for 3 people
with 2 wheels on the
3 people maximum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we rented that for the whole day, and yeah.
Dope. Awesome, man. Well, that's incredible. So I got one more question for you. Well, 2 more questions. If you had a theme song for your life, what would it be?
Oh, your song would be, I don't want to, what's that, Elise?
I don't know.
Here. I don't play it. That's your
She's like, let me.
It's coming.
Oh.
I just came to kick it.
Me at home.
Care about my wealth. That's
there
me.
You go. I love it.
You.
That's me.
And one piece of advice that you each have for someone who is going through their own queer journey.
But just do what makes you feel grounded. Like forget all the distractions around and just follow your heart, you know, and your head.
I'm going to go one step further and I'm going to tell people, especially if they're younger, get a mentor, get like somebody who is a licensed therapist or somebody that you can talk to, because a lot of times, you know, your friends give bad advice and they make things worse. And so I think especially like, you know, I tell people, like when people ask me for advice, I'm like, I'm not a doctor. This is what I would do. I advise you to go, you know, find, because the coming out process is very, very trying. And yes, be your authentic self. I'm not shitting on your advice, babe. But like, what does that really mean? And how could you really do that? And so I think that finding a mentor, whether they're just, you know, like a house mom, or they're older, or they're you know, a licensed medical professional or counselor, I think it goes a long way. And I think that more people, especially queer people of color, should get more into the counseling and the therapy. And it's okay to bring your partner and your families into it too, but that would be my advice. So
yeah, that's great. No, that's great advice. Definitely proponent for therapy over here. So I love that. Well, I want to thank you ladies for coming on and sharing your story. Congratulations again on your marriage. Congratulations on all your success. Keep thriving.
Thank you.
Sure,
We're
if I'm
happy to be
ever
part of
in
that club.
Yeah.
And we're going to be part of your club too.
Absolutely.
We want to have, that's the next step for us, but we are so proud and so happy for you and your journey as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So yeah, no, thank y'all, man. And listen, y'all already know it's another episode of the Queerly Blax Show. I'm your host, Ashley. If you're not subscribed, if you are not following me, follow me, subscribe. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
Alrighty.